go ahead and get things kicked off. Want to welcome you today. Kind of a dreary day, but I've looked at the long range weather. The weekend looks nice. Next week looks very spring like. And keep our fingers crossed, this may be our last Zoom only meeting. So more details about next week's meeting coming up in announcements, but I'm going to grab my flag. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. If I can get this unfurled.
We need to.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. And if we could re-mute. Again, I didn't see any additional guests, so we'll jump over that and go right into next week's meeting, which will be both in person and via Zoom. You should be receiving an invitation soon, and this is one where you will have to respond back and go ahead and reserve a spot. It's our intention to cap our group at 44, so we can keep it at only 4 people per table. We also intend to have some signage or some sort for fully vaccinated tables. So if you're fully vaccinated, you can feel a little bit safer and sit at that table. And by fully vaccinated, we mean you've had your second shot plus 2 weeks, or if you got the 1-shot version, it's 2 weeks after you've got that, and that you're deemed fully vaccinated. So we'll probably have a couple of tables. I don't know if we'll work that into our email invitation, but in the event, we'll mark a couple tables that way. Let's see, I guess that's it for next week's meeting, but I did look at the weather and it's supposed to be sunny and 61, so it'll be a great day for Kay's Garden. We do have a Rotary Cubed meeting tonight. It starts at 6 o'clock Central Time and goes to about 7:30. Rotary Club of Harlem is going to host this one. We tentatively have a date of June 24, which is a Thursday, for the next meeting, which I believe Minneapolis is going to host. And then I don't know, we probably don't have a date yet for the third one, which is the one we will be hosting. Our local foundation, I think it was just yesterday, announced the results of the mini grants. And they received 40 grant applications totaling $173,000. But let me read to you the recipients and the dollar amounts and the very brief description of what the program is. Tecumseh North Elementary received $1,000 for books for after-school reading program, and that program will begin next fall. The YWCA received $5,000 for teacher salaries for Summer Learning Loss Project, and that is part of their summer programs. The Rescue Mission street team received $5,000. That's going to be used to purchase a trailer to deliver basic needs to homeless people in Topeka. Topeka North Outreach, $5,000 for food purchases for Operation Backpack, and that is weekend food for about 825 kids. And I'm a little bit familiar with that. Those are kids that probably, well, they obviously get a school lunch, but they don't necessarily have food over the weekend. So they do get a backpack with some food to tide them over the weekend. So that's a great program. The Topeka Housing Authority got $4,000 for books for a summer learning program for kids living in the Housing Authority projects. So that totaled up to, I think it was $20,000. And so it tells you the needs there, but it seems to me all of those groups are worthy and they have worthy causes. We tried to do our first Rotary Rubbish Roundup last month. It got earlier this month, I should say. It did get rained out. We are shooting again for April 10th. So you might want to mark your calendars. That'll be a Saturday morning project. We'll have more information coming out, but if you want to go join us, it'll be a socially distant sort of deal. People will fan out and we're going to clean up some trash in downtown area. We're going to start and work around the Rotary Pocket Park and then I think fan out from there. I've mentioned it several times, but if you know of a high schooler that has finished his or her sophomore or junior year, they would be eligible to go to RILA. And that application form is on the club's website. I'm still waiting for specific details. I know they're going to have a virtual option. They're also going to have a day camp in Lawrence, and that is going to take place in June. And I think that's it for my announcements, but I'm going to turn it over to Allison, and Allison is going to introduce our speaker.
Well, thank you, Stan. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing our speaker today, and most of you probably know I share a last name with today's speaker, who happens to be my mother, but also my boss. And so we're going to have a great time learning more about the Human Trafficking Day Center. I think the last time I got to present a speaker here was our very own Joan Wagnon. And so I feel very fortunate in that I get to present some amazing, powerful women with whom I have very great personal relationships. So I'm going to just give you a couple of really great highlights about Kathleen, and then we can move on to the really important stuff. But Kathleen considers herself a citizen of the world and a first-generation American. She came home to Topeka, Kansas 4 years ago and has been serving as CEO of YWCA Northeast Kansas for nearly 5 years now. The mission of the YWCA is to eliminate racism, empower women, and stand for peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. She has a diverse background in commercial banking, finance, international business development, higher education, and most recently, nonprofit management. As CEO of the YWCA, she oversees a budget of $2.8 million while leading a committed staff of over 80 individuals who address the needs of women, children, and families via direct services in tandem with strategies of community issue education and public policy advocacy. She is a past member of this Rotary Club and past treasurer of this Rotary Club, and is a current member of the Topeka South Rotary. She's currently serving as an executive sponsor of the YWCA National Strategic Business Plan rollout. And I would just add that she is the proud mother of 3 daughters and 2 granddaughters, where is probably where a lot of her women's empowerment work has started. So with that, I'll let Kathleen take it away.
Hi, good to see everybody. And yeah, lots of familiar faces, not very many faces that I don't know. I'm going to start my my stopwatch here so I don't go over time, and Allison's going to manage some slides. Some of these, some of you are familiar with the Day Center because Rotary has been so involved with the Human Trafficking Day Center and the Topeka Rotary Foundation's funding, which got our center off the ground. And so I want to share a little bit of new information with you because what we now know is what we were hoping when we opened up the Day Center is actually helping it's happening in terms of being able to see the relationships being built. So just quickly to go over this timeline, and I know I apologize for this slide, it's hard to read online for me, so it probably is for you. But this happened very quickly. It kind of started with a presentation that I did to the small downtown Kiwanis Club and someone interested in helping us do some funding to get a Human Trafficking Day Center going. And so we actually toured the homestead in Manhattan in March of 2019 to see what that was all about. And that is not a crisis center, but is really a place for human trafficking survivors to get their lives kind of back in place for them. And so After that, we knew that what we wanted to do here in Topeka was continue to do crisis work, which is what we have done for a number of years through our Center for Safety and Empowerment. So we submitted those grants for the Day Center to the Downtown Rotary Foundation in April of 2019. And you can see that we opened in November of 2019, was the first day that we were open for the public after our ribbon cutting ceremony. And if you go to the next slide, Allison, you'll see that whoops, hold on just a moment. So yeah, ribbon cutting, a lot of familiar faces there. So the first thing that clients see when they walk through the doors of the Center for Safety and Empowerment is our classroom that you'll see to the right. And so we have 2 Google Chromebooks set up, 2 Dell desktops, and those are available for client use. They access the internet through our Wi-Fi and can make Wi-Fi calls to caseworkers. They can check their Social Security balances. They can file for benefits online. And they can use a lot of other applications that they need to use for services. We also have a Facebook account that they can maintain contact with clients through Messenger when that's a safe option for them to do that. One of the things that you'll see in these pictures is behind those beautiful drapes are also blinds that give us some security so folks cannot really see what's going on inside the center. What you don't see pictured is we do have an office and we have some storage space and we have lockers, and those lockers are very important. We're getting ready to take on some additional lockers. We have 10 lockers that were donated to us. Right now, 8 of them are being used. And so this is a place for our clients to be able to keep and secure documents and belongings. Because a lot of times they don't have a place to do that. And so this has been very important. This is also where we house the Fresh Start kits and the Go kits for the clients. Let's move to the next slide, Allison. So you can see what it looked like before the washer and dryer was put in and how that floor was rebuilt. I have to tell you that that washer and dryer is used very frequently. They need to be able to wash their clothes, have a place to get them clean. It's been a real blessing to have that for our clients. And we actually kind of dole out the detergent pods to them that you'll see those sitting on a counter maybe. And they can come in and do their laundry while they're with us. And a lot of times it's not till the end of the day that we're able to do the laundry of the facility, like bedding and sheets and towels. You've moved to that next slide, you'll see the loft. So this is upstairs. And it is, it just has a nice feel to it in the sense that you can't see this from the front of the building. It's very secure. The clients, it gives them a place to socialize, to relax, maybe do a puzzle, to read, watch TV, play a video game. And then you'll see that little nook, which is very popular with the library with books. And a lot of times we'll find clients taking a nap in just that little nook. So here's the kitchen area. Again, that was completely remodeled as well. So meals are prepared to be eaten while they're at the day center. And a lot of times we will pack a snack for them to take with them. So we have a variety of food in our pantry and in our refrigerator. And our staff say that if we have ranch dressing or cheese, it gets eaten. Anything that can be washed down with blue raspberry or fruit punch. We do have on Fridays, we have a group called the Lunch and Chat, and the staff prepares a lunch, or it's purchased from a budget that we have or donations from the community. And it's a safe place for the clients to kind of build community, to have a meal together with other folks. That's not something that they experience in their life. And it is a place where, you know, maybe they're going to play board games. But we really learn a lot about what's going on in their community and their lives. We usually have a goal of about 10 people who attend the lunch on Fridays. We are hoping to have positive connections come in to do some risk reduction and education. So they do HIV and STD testing. And so they're invited to come to lunch as well. So this is the bathroom upstairs, and I have to tell you how important this bathroom is, because it is a sense of being able to feel good about themselves when they know that they have a place that they can get clean. And this has been such an important piece. This is something that we thought was important because we knew that our YWCA facility was being used where clients were taking sponge baths, but it was really important for clients to have a place to feel like they could get clean and not feel like they were at risk. So much better than a public restroom. So resting space, this is where we have a couple of beds so they can come in and they can actually lay down on a bed and get some good sleep for a few hours. This has been really important, allows them to nap. And it's not unheard of for a client to come in and sleep for 5 hours. This was pretty transformational. If you look at the picture of what this looked like, this panel was inside that bedroom. It was then moved to the outside before it was taken to the dumpster. So I want to talk a bit about our guests so you can see, if we're going to go to the next slide. So what you'll see in the data that we are collecting is how many new visitors we have, how many return, and then how many total visits. And this graph doesn't show up very well. I apologize for that, but you can see that that number continues to grow. Actually, we have a few months in 2020 that we were closed because of COVID, and it was not safe. We did have a client that brought COVID into the day center, and that required our staff over there to be quarantined. But we are back open, and you can see that the numbers are continuing. And we feel pretty good about the growth that we have in just the number of clients and the number of relationships. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit, is how that is developing. So when they're at the day center, we look at the activities that are there for them. We have, like I said, we have an art group now, and you can see some of the artwork that they're doing. They did have an afternoon where we had some donated new clothes, and they decided to do a fashion show of mismatching, and they had a lot of fun with that. And those are some of the pictures from that afternoon. Part of what we try to do at the day center is shift the paradigm for the victims. We know that victims need help, they don't need judgment, and they don't need punishment. And while we've seen the number of clients grown, the opportunities for creating community and connection and healing for those survivors has also grown. And they've participated, like I said, in an art group, in playing card games, putting on this fashion show, and we had a donation of new clothes thanks to the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, which is our state association. And so that was really a treat for them. So as I said, victims need help, not judgment or punishment. A little bit about why we do this work. If you will go ahead and go to the next slide, Allison. So we're not trying to get in or out of what you call human trafficking. We are trying to get out of suffering. Sometimes we're trying to get out of suffering when we got pulled back in. This is a story of a survivor, and this is a quote of a survivor. And so this is why we do this work. Supporting survivors of human trafficking fits into our mission of empowering women, but it also promotes and provides peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. Victims represent an exceptionally high needs population, and we're talking about high needs in terms of severe mental health issues, grave physical safety, concerns about shelter and food, and heightened protection needs. And they have high numbers of addiction issues and immigrant and legal problems. And so we aim to meet victims where they are. All of our victims fit under the empowerment model, and we use a multidisciplinary approach that is critical to meet all of the critical needs of a victim. And so we think that the path to healing for them is to make sure that all of those needs are met. We know that there is a need for long-term services, and that is considered 2 years or more. So it's called human trafficking or prostitution or the game or the life. It never started with me trying to make money. It started with someone making money off of me. I was 12 the first time I was sold. Over the years, I got good at it. I knew how to make money fast. You can get addicted to the hustle, and that is a story of another survivor. But I want to stop and tell you a success from one of our clients with a quote. So we had a day center advocate who first met this client behind the day center building. And she had several conversations with them before they finally came to access our services. The client was fierce, and it was cause for worry when we wouldn't see her for a few days, as they often came to us with new signs of physical violence on their body. The constant we heard from them was that their desire to be clean and to be with their children. That was what was important to them. Recently, when we hadn't heard from them, we reached out, letting them know that we missed them and were thinking about them. The client responded that they were completing a treatment program and that they were beginning services through a reintegration program. The client expressed a lot of gratitude and a feeling of getting their life back on track. It was such great news. And I have to tell you, it's great news for our staff who work with these clients when they see these kinds of successes. So how can we help someone new survive what you have experienced? This is a question we asked in our survivor focus groups. One of the answers was, if I would have known then, whatever it may have been, when someone told me that I didn't have to work like that anymore, it gave me permission. It was the beginning of something you don't have to do. This is no more, you know? That is a story of a survivor. So creating this focus group has led this work into a real new level of empowerment. So the survivors we serve in our day center have been given a platform where their voices and their experiences can be heard. And this influences how we provide services and how we provide outreach and how we build trust with our clients. So from the survivor focus group, we also learned that to prevent trafficking, we have to consider food insecurity and hunger. You know, they were good to me at the time. I was hungry and they fed me. COVID has exacerbated food insecurity. And so food shortages, especially meats and staple items, reduced hours and longer waits at food pantries, limitations to the number of times people can visit, the absence of free lunch programs for virtual learners, and the financial and economic strain and uncertainty. So what we have done as a result of these focus groups is we have created more impactful public presentations on our work. This slide is actually an excerpt from a first presentation to the CAT Rotary Club, What is Human Trafficking? Lessons Learned from a Survivor. And I think you all are probably familiar with the CAT Club. It is an online club, and I'm going to forget what the acronym stands for, but it is a human trafficking. It is a club that is only virtual, and it is focusing on human trafficking. Our program director, Becca Spillman, is actually a member of that club. So another focus group story was that one day I looked up and realized I was in a relationship with everyone but my partner. Stuck in this cycle. It was like I turned around and realized I had been plucked out of who I was, dropped into the hole alone. They weren't there to rescue me. No knight in shining armor, no family, no white horse. There were so many lies. It was like, then I knew it was manipulation. I still seen it all as true, but I was lost from myself.
So Kathleen, do you just to insert myself for 1 second. So this
Sure.
one is an excerpt from another CAT presentation that is specific to learning about the dynamics of grooming, exploitation, and control that happens within trafficking.
Exactly. And so in the CAT Club, those meetings are open to any Rotarian. If you want to learn more about how complex the issue of human trafficking is, they do have another presentation on May 18th. It's open to any Rotarian that would want to join in. And they're going to be exploring the demand for commercial use, which is another complex part of the whole issue of human trafficking. So the participants will learn about the role of the demand in human trafficking and how failure to address it will guarantee the survival of trafficking and the creation of future generations of victims. So, and on June 15th, there will be a presentation on protective factors. To prevent human trafficking and end abuse at its source, we have to look at exploitation as a part of the larger continuum of violence, which is rooted in power and control, and the exploitation of vulnerabilities of the clients. So participants will learn more about the effective prevention efforts grounded in research and about the risk and protective factors. So I just want to share information about how you can contact the YWCA Center for Safety and Empowerment. Also, how you can support our work. On April 17th, we're going to be having a virtual art auction. We've been doing this for a number of years. It's called Concealed Revealed. We have artists from around our community that donate their art, which will be up for auction. We also will have some survivor art from various art groups that we have here at the YWCA Center for Safety and Empowerment. So the art auction is at 6 o'clock on the 17th. It will be inspiring and empowering. It'll be an event of art, but also honor and storytelling. It'll look a little different this year since it will be a hybrid model. We will be at the Jayhawk Theater, but it will not be open to the public. There will be an opportunity to view the art for several days at the Jayhawk Theater prior to the event on the 17th. And we're hoping that what that auction does, it not only raises money for the Center for Safety and Empowerment's work, but it also really celebrates the strength of survivors, and it instills hope and supports our work providing shelter to those clients. So I'd like to ask at this point if you have any questions of me. Either about the changes in the transformation of the day center, which was in the first year, or about how we serve clients.
Kathleen, this is Stephen. And can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I just wanted to say, this brings back a lot of memories. I was vice president of advancement for Restoration House in Lee Summit, Missouri. We help victims of sex trafficking. And some of those numbers are they're just unbelievable. Kansas City's #2 in the nation, domestic minor sex trafficking, average age 12. So what you're saying and what those numbers present are very realistic, and people sometimes just don't realize. We know human trafficking, sex trafficking goes on, but I served on task force. Everybody in this room would just faint almost, just because of if you really knew what was going on, and we really don't know what's going on. And so what you're doing is it's amazing, and I appreciate your efforts in reaching out to those folks, because it's just unbelievable.
Thank you.
And we're talking about, kids and future, and a lot of these kids are kids that come from good homes. You talk about cell phones, 90% of the games that kids are playing on those cell phones against another person are actually 90%. They're predators. They're trying to go after and meet those kids and things like that. And parents don't know. So it just opens up a whole new world. It's not just about human trafficking. It's about educating the parents and so on and so forth. And it's just amazing. But thank you for the work you do. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. And Steve, I would add that there is a lot of misinformation in the United States. There's a lot of misinformation in our communities, because a lot of folks think about human trafficking, they think about kids being snatched up off the street. And while that happens, that is not the typical clients that we're seeing, and they're not the clients in our community. And while we are in the crossroads in the Midwest with interstates, and so there is a lot of trafficking that's happening in the center of the country. We also know that a lot of the clients that we're seeing, they're from Topeka, and the person that got them involved in trafficking is somebody that was known to them, someone that they were in a relationship with. But when we talk about drug addictions, and we talk about mental health issues, and we talk about poverty, all of these things have a role in helping promote human trafficking as well. So we really take the public education side of this very seriously, and we have been expanding our public education. I think what this last year has brought to us is being able to build those relationships with the clients in the first year. And it truly is word of mouth. To have a client last week, there was a client that said, I didn't know you were here until someone else told me that you were here. And now that I know this, there's several other people I'm going to be telling about this, because no one identifies as saying, I'm a human trafficking victim. That's not who they see themselves as. They see themselves as a person that is surviving, trying to get by in life. And they may understand the word prostitution. They may understand the word being sold for sex, but human trafficking is not a part of their vocabulary.
You are 100% correct. Thank you.
So Melissa had a question in the chat about protective factors, and I thought I might address it really quickly because it just went well with what Kathleen just mentioned. So talking about protective factors has everything to do with what we were just talking about, that prevention and education piece, and talking really about what are healthy relationships? What is a healthy sense of self? And what are the other dynamics that are leading to exploitation of human exploitation and commercial sex. And so that's what will be explored in that next CAT Rotary presentation. But I wanted to just take a moment to say, or just bounce off of what Kathleen said, in that last year we saw a 70% increase in our public education reach, and we see a direct correlation between the number of presentations we're doing out in the community and the number of people seeking our services. So it's a really crucial piece, and I'd encourage any of you who are a part of other organizations or any companies to please get in contact with us. And on our website, you'll see our public education coordinator, Emily Steimel-Handy. She can do a number of presentations on anything relating to human trafficking or domestic violence 101, or supporting survivors in your very workplace, if that would be an appropriate presentation. But I just wanted to take a moment to plug that, because it may seem like something really small to attend a presentation, but it does make a difference. And the more we can get the word out, the more impact we're having in serving survivors.
So Susan's question about what can individuals offer as additional support or assistance for the program. Right now, some of the support that we look for are really the meals and being able to provide those meals. And so if it's either preparing something that can be frozen, that can be put in the freezer at the day center and taken out and popped in the oven is helpful, because the staff, you know, the less time they're spending cooking, the more time they're spending working with the clients that are in the center. And so that is one way. Right now, we're pretty stocked on supplies for those clients, but one of the needs that we always have are larger size, just sweatshirts and sweatpants, new ones that we can give to folks when they come to us with no clothes.
We have another chat question. Are there other nonprofits here in Topeka you can collaborate with on this mission? And what can we be aware of? What can we be aware of as signs of symptoms of someone who is being trafficked?
Yeah, both good questions. So let me answer the first question. In terms of collaborating with other folks in the community, of course, we collaborate with the Topeka Police Department and the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office. We also get referrals through the Street Reach folks. And so when the Street Reach folks see homeless folks, when you look at the folks in the tents in Topeka, you can guarantee that they have been trafficked at one point. As we had a client tell us last year, living on the streets and being trafficked, that is just the tax you pay to be on the street. And so it's important that folks know that we're available and that our services are there. And so collaborating with the Street Reach folks at Topeka Rescue Mission is a part of that. They're doing some work in terms of human trafficking with clients that are in the shelters there. And I think they're looking at doing some more long-term work with clients. But right now we see the work that we're doing in terms of more emergent needs and really kind of the emergency crisis intervention is what we're doing. And then of course, the public education piece of that. Oh, I forgot the second question, Stan.
I mean, it is, what are the signs that we can be aware of, or signs or symptoms of someone who is being trafficked?
Sure. Usually you can see it in terms of someone being controlled. Maybe it is seeing someone who is in public and they're with someone who is not letting them speak for themselves, not letting them pay for anything themselves, doing everything for them. That's one sign. I mean, there's so many signs that we probably would not notice, but it is a matter of control and coercion. So if it looks like someone is being controlled, that's a pretty strong possibility that they are. You know, what we would say is it's not something that we want the public to intervene and get involved with a situation with someone. But if you have a moment with someone and you are alone and saying, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you?" Is okay. Yeah, we have a 24/7 hotline, and so calling our hotline is also an option for folks.
I think Carol has a question.
Ryan does.
Yes,
Okay.
I tried to chat it and didn't go through. Kathleen, what is your interaction with the Department of Children and Families in terms of trying to get somebody set up for some type of ongoing assistance for housing and food and?
Yeah, Orion, we work with a lot of agencies. And in fact, yesterday I just sent to staff, there's a very comprehensive list of every single agency in our community that offers different kinds of support. And so it's the job of our advocates to make sure that they're getting clients when they are ready for that, to get them connected to the services that they need. So that really is a job of a caseworker to walk through that with them. So if it is, if it is medical needs or, mental health or drug addiction, we can make those connections. Sometimes it is getting them the support that say, you know what, I have a whole support system in another state, but I need to be able to find a way to get there. And we do have grant funds that allow us to pay for those expenses for the client.
And just a follow-up question, that is through children, I keep wanting to say SRS, through Children and Families, is there a possibility, do some of the people you work with get signed up for a monthly check from the state until they can get back on their feet, so that there's some kind of financial security that's coming in every month? Or
There are some cases that, yes, they do.
So that would be the Social Security or other funds that.
well, I'm thinking like if somebody has a child ADC or general assistance grant or.
Yeah, and then Kathleen, do you want to talk about our TANF coordinator or DCF?
Yeah, so we have a position here in the Center for Safety and Empowerment. She is actually, it's a position funded by DCF. And I get a lot of check requests from her for client assistance. So we have funds both through DCF, and then we also have funds available that we can pass on to clients through several other grants through the Governor's Grants Office as well.
Okay, thank you.
So Kathleen, I just have enjoyed hearing so much the presentation and seeing the PowerPoint. And I'm wondering how much success there is here in Topeka with police response or even follow through on consequences or the legal system against the people that are doing this trafficking.
That's a really good question. We have a very good relationship with law enforcement and the district attorney's office. In fact, I had a meeting earlier this week with the district attorney's office because we also work with batterer intervention programs. And while that is separate, it's a separate category from human trafficking, there's an overlap there because folks who have experienced domestic violence a lot of times have been trafficked, and clients who have been trafficked are surely experiencing domestic violence. And so we work with batterer intervention programs as a way to deter folks from continuing in the cycle and breaking this cycle. But what we started tracking some interesting statistics this year. So for the year, or this last year, for 2020, we look at the number of lethality assessments that are completed in the city of Topeka through Topeka Police Department. And the number of lethality assessments, those lethality assessments actually assess the level of safety that a person has and how likely are they to be harmed. And so a lethality assessment will measure that with some key questions. And a lot of times what came out of the statistics in 2020 is over 43% of folks who have completed a lethality assessment with TPD are concerned that they're going to be killed. And that's a pretty devastating number. So what we are working on is trying to make sure that as many of those folks are getting to us that need to, because they are not always getting in contact with us. And there's some things that we're trying to work out with law enforcement to make sure that they are trying to get in contact with us immediately, because we have someone available 24/7, because these are not things that happen from 8 to 5. So there is more work to be done there, I will say that, but it's continuously improving. Did that answer your question, Marcy?
Yeah, that was great. I know every state's a little different, and it's just such a need to have that follow through on that end. Yes, your answers were wonderful, and I'm glad to hear that it's working so well.
There is a lot of conversation right now about, when this work was done some years ago, several decades ago, it was thought, the thought process was that criminal justice system is where this needs to be. It is a bigger problem than criminal justice, and it is not the answer. Getting folks out of the system and taking care of these other needs is what is going to get them out of this vicious cycle. And in terms of those that are perpetrating this, changing the laws in terms of the justice system and holding perpetrators accountable rather than victims is what needs to be happening.
I see one more chat question is, how many caseworkers do you have on staff?
I would have to look at a total number here, but for the Center for Safety and Empowerment is different, of course, than the Human Trafficking Day Center. So we have a coordinator for the day center, and we have 2 part-time staff at the day center. We are applying for some additional grant funding that is going to fund 1 additional position for the day center, and we're pretty optimistic that we're going to get it. But in terms of caseworkers, we have just under 40 staff for our Center for Safety and Empowerment. Some of them are advocates who work at our shelter. As you know, we also, this year with some HESG COVID funding through the city of Topeka, we were able to open up a 10-unit apartment building where we can house victims of domestic violence and sexual violence. And so we have staff at those apartments. We have staff here we have 1 staff who is dedicated. She is the DCF TANF coordinator. And we have a lot happening in being able to do client assistance there. And we also sub-grant funds out to battery intervention programs as well. And then we have a public education coordinator. We also have counselors, and these counselors are folks who do longer term counseling. So maybe have a client for a couple of years who are really trying to work through the trauma that they have experienced, either in domestic violence or sexual violence. And so, yeah, there's a variety of positions. This is not easy work, as you can imagine.
Do you want to mention our rural staff just briefly?
Just getting ready to say that. So we have a rural office and we serve Jackson. So we're in Shawnee County, but we also serve Jackson, Wabunsee, and now Brown counties. And so we have an actual physical office in Holton for that staff.
Do we have other questions?
This is John Christensen. I've got a quick question. If we have some clothing or have access to some clothing, who do we contact to arrange for or meals? What's the number to call, or who's the best person to coordinate with?
So if you call our front desk and ask for our volunteer coordinator, her name is Amy. Amy will get you connected depending on what it is that you have, and we'll get you connected with the right person.
Okay, so the front desk is there in the YW building?
It sure is.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, I want to say thank you, Kathleen and Allison, for helping us out here today. There's one thing I like about Rotary and the presentations is I want to walk away with something I didn't know before. And this was a good example of that. And our club members and the local foundation should take a great deal of pride in the fact that we were instrumental in getting this off the ground. So, and it's, you know, the multiplier effect of some of the other people getting involved, the district and even the international aspect has been very encouraging. So thanks again for that presentation. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to go back to a hybrid in-person and Zoom meeting format starting next Thursday, April 1st, and that's not an April Fool's joke. We will be at the zoo. Our presenter will be none other than Brendan Wiley, of course, the zoo director, and he has quite a bit to update us on because, of course, there have been some organizational changes there between Friends of the Zoo and the city. They have some ambitious plans to add on some new exhibits. I think we'll probably hear about that. And of course, we'll be in I call it the most beautiful spot in Topeka, which is Kay's Garden in the event center. So I'm looking forward to that. And remember, it's supposed to be sunny and 61. So you can maybe go out and stroll in the garden. With that, I'm going to go ahead and read off the four-way test. Join if you would like. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? And will it be fun and kind? Thank you, everybody, for attending. We had a great turnout, a great presentation, and look forward to seeing you in person in the zoo. You will be getting an invitation, so go ahead and try and click on that reservation so you can be one of those 44 that will be in person. Thanks again.
So Stan, I have a quick question about my dues still. I logged on to my Club Runner and it just shows a 0 there.
I'm not sure why that's the case, but Deborah Ricks, and you can find her email address in Club Runner, is the one that has the most information that. So you might just fire off an email to Deborah and she can help you get that clarified.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. This was a great program. I'm so happy to learn about these things going on here.
Fantastic program.
Thanks.
Thank you all.